Hello and good morning. So my name is Eric Kromidas, and my research mentor is Dr. Greg Myosin in the Department of Psychology. My research was over mentors' perspectives on mentoring young men. So a mentor is somebody who provides wisdom, guidance, as well as establishes an emotional bond with a mentee. There are two types of mentoring. There's formal mentoring, which usually lasts long term. There's also little choice in terms of the matching between mentors and mentees. And there's also a very clear and established goal of mentoring in mind. The second type of mentoring is informal mentorship. So informal mentorship can be either long-term or short-term, and is also very focused on the mentee's goals. It doesn't have to be solely focused on it, but that is a major component to that mentoring style. Other relationships then can also form into this type of mentoring. So an example would be, let's say a professor, it can also be a mentor towards a student. So a lot of the people in this room right now can be actually categorized as an informal mentor. In terms of an example for a formal mentorship, that's programs like the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, things that a mentor is usually matched with a mentee in that case. There's a role that takes place in gender, with gender and mentoring. So with males, there's a stronger focus on having shared activities, and that is what benefits the mentoring the most. There's also a sense that males are more likely to become mentors because in society there's a perception that males hold more power than females. And because of that, male mentors are usually sought after more because there's an idea that they have more connections and opportunities that can take the mentee into the next level of their career or life. In terms of females, there's a focus on emotional closeness rather than shared activities compared to males, and they are also less likely to be mentors because of that idea of having less opportunities and less connections to benefit the mentee at the end. In terms of trust in the relationship when it comes to mentoring, every relationship has to have trust, but there has to be a sense of mutual trust in a mentoring relationship. So mentors have to be able to be the ones who can be vulnerable first in a relationship, being able to say that the mentee can come to them and share about their lives just as well as the mentors can open about themselves. There's also a sense of stress in relationships when people become vulnerable, and when those self-disclosures between mentors and mentees can be reciprocated, meaning that the mentors and the mentees are both open about their lives to each other, that sense of stress is then lowered. That's also comes into play in terms of gender. So if the genders are the same, there's oftentimes a less sense of stress in the relationship. So if a male mentor is opening up to a male mentee about their life, it's usually easier for that to happen than a male mentor with a female mentee. There was also a study done that showed that male mentors had a sense of similarity that was greater with their male mentees rather than their female mentees. In terms of the mentor's perspectives and why it is that they mentor, there's a few different reasons, but one of them is that there's a sense of self-pride. So they themselves feel like they're doing something good for society, that they're benefiting something by doing this mentoring. Another is that they aid in the betterment of their mentees, being able to improve the life of somebody else and saying that they have made a difference and helped this person grow into who they are. There's more research that's needed, though, in terms of the motivations as to why people mentor and the needs that mentors actually need. There's a strong relationship in terms of the research on what the benefits of being mentored are, but there's not that much research in terms of what the benefits of being that mentor. In terms of faith-based mentoring, there's also a lack of research in this area. So there needs to be more research in terms of what it is that faith-based mentoring can aid in mentoring or what it does not aid, perhaps. But if mentoring, and especially faith-based, can include best practices, there's little reason to show that it should not work. The purpose of the study was to aid in that expansion. So there's a lack of data to support or refute what it means to be a mentor in terms of what those benefits are. And the hypothesis is that mentors will want to continue mentoring because they've been positively impacted by the experience of being a mentor. In terms of my participants, it was a convenient sample, and there were 3 male mentors who mentor males between the ages of 18 and 25 in Kansas. The procedure took place in terms of semi-structured interviews, which were then transcribed, coded. Those coded ideas were then turned into overarching themes across the questions that were asked. There were 8 questions that were asked. Some of them included what the positive and negative experiences were in their mentoring, as well as what the positive and negative self-lessons that they learned about themselves, as well as what the spiritual aspects or lessons that they learned while they were mentoring, and what motivated them to continue mentoring. There were 7 themes, and the first 4 can be explained in terms of objectives and practices. So the first 2 being building of mentees and trust and vulnerability were the objectives. So they were trying to build up their mentees in terms of helping them succeed and obtaining their goals, helping them through life struggles. As one mentor said, on occasion is you get to stand back and see some of these kids go from making really goofy or even bad decisions to really being responsible. Another said it's a process of learning to focus on someone else, and it's a process of learning to give up of yourself to someone else. They did this also by establishing that sense of trust and vulnerability, being able to open up about their life and share with their mentee. In terms of spirituality and communication, they used senses of spirituality, being able to talk about God and Scripture, how that related to that mentee's life, as well as using communication strategies to then aid in the building of their mentees and the formation of that trust and vulnerability aspects. The last 3 themes then focused on the motivations as to why the mentors were mentoring. There was a mutuality and team effort theme, which had to do with the mentors were actually gaining from the experience just as much as the mentees were, that they were learning new things about themselves that they never thought that were going to be possible. There was also a legacy and age theme, which had to do with the mentees learning from their mentors and the mentors not wanting them to make the same mistakes that they did when they were young. The last was that the mentors found this experience to be very rewarding. As one mentor said, you never know what you like until you try it. It's like a food or a certain dish or a certain drink or whatever. If you have the courage to try it, you may experience something that opens you up to worlds that you haven't experienced. Another said, I do it because I believe it's incredibly important and it's fun. It's so much fun. At the end of this research, the hypothesis was then supported. Mentors gained from the experience and want to continue mentoring because of it. Future research that I would like to conduct would be to provide mentors with a personality assessment to then figure out what actual characteristics kind of motivate mentors to become mentors, and what kinds of people then become mentors because of those characteristics. This research can then help more mentors be recruited in society if those motivations and those gains that they can make from this mentoring experience can then be shared. And then also these mentors said that they learned about themselves more than anything. So if being able to show people that you can gain from this experience just as much as being mentored, you can be gained for mentoring, then that's a good thing in society. So with that, these are my references, and I'm open for any questions.